Hello, and thank you so much for joining me for Scrappy Sunday. My name is Sharon Rogers, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Wells, Maine. And each Sunday, I like to come to you with a memory-keeping project. Last week, I introduced you to Stampin' Up's month-by-month album kit that coordinated with the retreat that Stampin' Up! Recently put on, their very first. And today, I'm going to show you the January spread. Now, of course, people are using the spreads created during that retreat for a variety of reasons, not just going month by month, but I have decided to go ahead and do a month by month. So in January of 2026, I'm going to take some photos specifically for the purpose of putting them in this album. Let's get started with January's spread. The first thing I'm going to do is take out the two pieces of white willow cardstock. And if I refer to my sample pages here, I can see that the left-hand one is the large square, the 11.5 by 11.5, and the right page is using the 11.5 by 9 inch. And that 9 inch, that has to be going landscape. I'm going to apply some soft seafoam ink using a blending brush to a couple of different areas on here. One is near where this title is, and then a little bit over here on the same page. And I think that's about it. Let me get out my ink pad here. I'm just using a small blending brush. You can use a large size one, doesn't matter. I'm going to grab a piece of, well, I guess I don't have to. I can use the back side, but I'm going to just grab a piece of scrap paper here and get some of that off. And I'm going to apply just a light layer in here. That's going to help my title stand off a little bit. That's going to be where the in review goes. And don't worry if it's a little blotchy. You're going to have stuff over it anyway. And I'm going to do the same thing on this piece. Kind of at about the same height or so, I'd say. Maybe a little bit lower. Right down in here. All right, let's just call that good. I'm going to pull out this stamp right here. It looks like some little plus signs. It's just a border stamp that I'm going to be using right here. I'm going to flip it upside down so that I can make sure that I'm not distorting it when I mount it on a block. There we go. I'm going to stamp my Misty Moonlight across the bottom of both pieces. I'm going to take our time and move this up a little bit so you can see. And it's made to repeat very nicely. I love this stamp. I love how they designed it to repeat for as long as I want it to. It's very easy to line up. And look at that. It's made to just fit that 11.5 inch width perfectly. We'll do the other side as well. Go. Let's go ahead and clean my block. I'm going to put it back so I don't lose it, and I know which stamp set it goes and where it goes. I'm going to set this aside. Now, I am not using photos, but this next step is to adhere my photos to my photo mats. And when I get into my piece here, okay, these larger pieces are my backgrounds. And somewhere in these directions it says, unless otherwise noted, use the darker side. So I'm going to use the darker side here. And inside this packet are a whole bunch of other pieces. And in my directions, it'll you can verify which pieces that you have. So one thing to know, and I'm going to set these, first of all, these are your photo mats. So your photo mats are, you need one for a 4x6. And if you're not quite sure, you can get out these little pieces right here. Here's a 4x6. I can see that that's a good mat right there. And the other 4x6 photo mat. So these will go together. And when I'm applying these here, I don't want to adhere anything permanently. So I'm just going to use a little glue dot. You can use Stampin' Seal, whatever. I'm just going to use a little glue dot because I have a ton of them left over from paper pumpkins. Just put a little one in the center there. And adhere that. And I'll do the same thing on the other one. There we go. And then we need, this is a photo mat and this is a photo mat. These are gonna go for the two 3x4s. You can see that, oops, oh, that's the wrong one. Here's a 3x4 and here's a 3x4. Nope, not that one. 3x4. That's why it's helpful to have these photo placement pieces, because then you can see exactly which ones without measuring. There we have that one. And then we have this one. Okay, so those are where my 3x4s are going to go. So again, I'm looking at this layout here. I can see that this one is going to, and if you want to keep it straight, you can just use more than one dot. This one's going to go landscape. This one's going to go landscape. And this one is going to go landscape. And on this page, we've got this larger one over here, but then we've got two that are on these tags. And so the next step is going to be to create the tags. It tells me that these are the three pieces that I'm going to use for a tag. And the directions say to snip 1/2 inch from the top corners of the 3 1/4 inch piece. Now, if you want to be precise, you can use a pencil. Let's see if I've got one over here that's sharp. There we go. I've got a mechanical one here. So you can line up with your ruler and mark 1/2 inch right here. And 1/2 inch right here. And connect the dots. Just like that. Anything that you see left over, just erase. And then you can measure on the other side, or you can take this piece right here and flip that into the corner. And with a very steady hand, line that up. And you can just snip off that identical corner. And then you can cheat a little bit. These two are different sizes, and they're different sizes than this piece, but they are both the same width. And if you line this polka dot piece up, line the tops up, line the sides together. Let's see, let's make sure we're even here. And what we can do is snip there and snip there. And now we have all nice identical tags. All right, let's clean up this little surface here. So one photo is going to go on this piece, and one photo is going to go on our polka dot piece. Now, if you have a small standard kind of hole punch, you can cut them out here. You can just punch a little hole. I do have an 1/8 inch piece. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah. And so if I just kind of find the center here, that's it. And then you can do the same for these two pieces. And then that really makes them tags. Some other things that you could do is you could go ahead and just poke a hole with your take your pick tool. It's not quite as nice, but it will certainly work. Just make sure you're poking it through the front side. And I would just do one at a time. All right, so there we have our pieces. This is going to be a journaling piece here. This is a piece where we have a photo. I would probably make this 2 3/4 by 2 3/4, I think, instead of the 3. I think the 3 by 3 doesn't quite fit. I mean, it's okay, but something. I think if I align this with the very bottom and make sure my edges, 2 edges are right, then it looks pretty good. It's okay that my 3 by 3 is upside down. It's not going to stay there anyway. All right, and so then we're going to put this one here as well. I'm going to just line this up. That's pretty good right there. Okay. So now we have all our photo mats done. We can set those aside. This is going to be for our pocket as well as some other pieces. So let's go ahead and do, well, let's not do the pocket next. I want to give you a tip that was shared from some other demonstrators as they were chiming in on the live retreat. They talked about doing something that would lighten each of your pages, kind of remove some of the bulk. And that is called gutting your scrapbook page. So pieces that aren't going to show, you can remove. So for instance, if I've got this on a piece of Misty Moonlight, I can, most of this Misty Moonlight is covered up. So why not take out a large chunk of the center, and then we can use it on any other project that we want. There's no need in wasting all of that two-tone cardstock. So let's go ahead and do that. Now I want to leave sufficient border so that I can adhere my white willow piece to it. what I'm gonna do, and that's a 1/2 inch in, so I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna be really pretty generous here. I'm not even gonna really look. I'm just gonna kind of eyeball. So I'll put this one sort of in the ditch here. Let's go a little bit more like this. Cut there. So I'm kind of putting this off to the edge a bit, and then I'm just making sure that I'm coming in, I don't know, maybe 1.5 inches from each side. Because that's what this measurement is out here too. That's 1.5 inches. So now what I've done is I have taken out this center. That removes this a pretty good amount of weight because it's almost a whole sheet. And then we have this. Same thing for the other piece, except for on the other piece, remember this is going to go like this right here. So that means I can't go nearly as far from the top. So if I just look on my cutter, I can see that probably if I start at 2.5 and go to say 9, that's going to be a good amount to cut in. So for this one, I'm going to come in and I'm going to start, what did I say, 2.5 by 9. And I'm going to, instead of just going around like I did before, I'm going to go to the opposite side and do that 9 by 2.5 again. And now all I need to do is connect the ends of the cut marks. So if I see where this cut mark is, it's about right there. And I cut up to the other cut mark. You can see that I've cut this out already then. And then we'll just finish it on in the same way. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to make sure that you're not cutting out something that is going to end up showing. I can see that when I put this on here, you've got plenty of leftover stuff to work with. All right, so there are our bases. All right, we are almost done prepping, and then we'll be ready to put things together. Next, we have to stamp the banner in tuxedo black. So if we look on this page, we have this banner. So in this packet, we have some die cuts, one of which is a banner. I'm going to pop that out. So one of the tips that they also shared with us is because these have lots of little pieces, sometimes when you take a die cut sheet out, some of the pieces fall out. So if you just take what you need from in here, anything that falls out will stay in the bag. You won't lose any of your pieces. I thought that was an especially good tip. I'm going to find my banner stamp. Let's bring in my stamp set again. And it's not on this one that we started with. It's in the one with the alphabet. So here's my banner. And this is especially flimsy because this whole center is cut out. So definitely want to turn that upside down. All right, and then we will pick it up here. And I'm going to ink this in Memento Black. I'm going to try to get over it so I don't mess it up. That's not right. Yeah, that's the right one. Here we go. There's our banner. Now, they suggested writing or stamping in review on here. I don't want to do in review, so I'm not sure what's going to go in there yet. I'm going to wait and see maybe what my pictures say. Because if we take a special trip in January, I can write where that went to, or if I'm celebrating New Year's Eve, I can maybe even handwrite New Year's Eve. I can do lots of things. Actually, I probably have some stamps that I could put that in with, but I'm going to wait on this. But I at least have the banner done. We will clean our stamp. And put it back where it came from. Now, if you don't want to clean, put away all at one time, here's yet another fun little tip. You can keep out one of your big blocks, so like your biggest clear block, and stick your stamps on there, and then you know you have to, when it gets full, you have to clean them all at once, or and put them away, or, you know, find another block, I guess. So next thing we're going to need for this particular one is we need the oval that's in this stamp set. And then we need to find the solid hearts. So let me see, it's not in this one. There's hearts, but those aren't 3 solid hearts. It's not a single heart that you can stamp 3 times either. So I have a solid heart right here. And I'm just going to get out the stamp set. All right, so that's the one that the banner came from. So the banner and the alphabet. And the other one has the numbers. Here's the banner, and then this one has that solid little heart. I've got these blocks out. Might as well just use these. So now I need to find the coordinating oval die cut. And you may read through the directions and get these all at once. So I can see there's an oval one right here. Again, I'm just going to pop it out in the bag. Let's ink it up well. Again, I'm going to stand up. Hopefully that's pretty good. There we go. And then with our Misty Moonlight pad, I'm going to stamp 3 hearts. And let's try to stamp the one in the middle first. That looks pretty good. And then we'll stamp one on the right and one on the left. Here we go. And that piece is done. I'm going to go ahead, because I'm using such a small area of my table to keep everything on camera, I need to clean as I go. Getting this back out. My heart went here. And my oval went here. All right. Let's stick this back in with the rest of my stamps. Now I need the scalloped half circle. So let's find the scalloped half circle here. Not on that side, so it's this rainbowy looking thing down here at the bottom. So punch that out. Here we go. If you have a little edge on it, you can sand those off, sand those little nubs off. They don't actually bother me. And so with this one, I'm going to, it says to stamp the scalloped half circle in tuxedo black and highlights in misty moonlight. So highlights is another stamp from this set. You can see that it's already shaped for that particular piece. We're going to stamp the half circle and in black and the highlights in misty moonlight. Let's see, that one fits. That's good. Ink that up. Here we go. It's a little off, but you know what? This happens to be symmetric, so we can just try it again. My camera's still in the way, even though I stand up and it gets a little bit better, and that's not bad. My camera's still in the way. So just doing the best I can here. And let's see, the word highlights is not in this, is not in this one. I've got my stamp sets mixed up in here somewhere. So highlights is this one. So the letters go with the banner one. And this one has the word highlights in it. And we're going to pick that up. And in Misty Moonlight, I think I can work with highlights. I think that'll be okay. Which side? Yeah, this side's better. Highlights, there we go. Because even if it's a trip, or, you know, it's a gathering of friends, can certainly still use the sentiment highlights. And if in the end that doesn't work for me, I will just substitute a shape with maybe a different word. No problem. It is definitely much easier to put these away sort of as you go, because you can kind of tell where the void is. But if there's a lot of voids, then you're kind of left guessing. All right. Now I think we have prepped everything. Now it's just time for assembly. We can put our inks away and we can just assemble. All right, so I mentioned that unless it tells you otherwise, they want you to use the dark side. Well, they are going to tell me to use the other side. So I'm going to use the light side. You can see one side is darker than the other. I'm going to use the light side, and I'm going to adhere this together. I want the little border design at the bottom. I mean, at this point, it doesn't matter. It's when you're putting everything else on it that it will really matter. Let's go ahead and use some, you can use some Seal Plus, tear and tape, doesn't matter. I'm going to use, just for the ease here, I'm going to use tear and tape. I do find it works pretty well. For those of you who don't like the seal because you're not used to it, maybe you're used to the old snail that we used to carry. So that it is a very different mechanism and motion that you have to use for the snail as compared to the Seal or Seal Plus. So if you have not mastered that and you just don't want to be frustrated by it any longer, tear and tape works well. I mean, you can also use some glue too, but I think the tape works better. I'm going to just take this off now. And let's put this one on here. And I'm going to look at the bottom and I'm going to try to get 3 of the borders the same, which typically means the 4th one will be equal as well. Put it down lightly and then we'll press it down. That one's good. And if I do the other one, oh, well, let's just do the left page. And you can choose to do both sides at once. It doesn't matter. In fact, I think when it comes to the base, I think I will start with putting both of them together. All right, and here's my other piece, and I'm going to just adhere that there. So let's go ahead and put our tear and tape on this. And there we have that. So we'll just take off our backings. You definitely want to put your tear and tape or whatever adhesive you're using on the back of the top piece, only because it's the smaller piece and it's the one that you want to make sure gets secured down. And because we've left plenty of room on our Misty Moonlight, we don't have to worry about it adhering to nothing to the hole. I'm going to get all of it here. Oops. There we go. I know I didn't get all of it. There we go. Should use my take your pick tool, but I'm almost done now. Oops. Does stick well. There we go. And then when we go to make our page, I want to make it pretty equal top and bottom. Now, if you are very particular and you want to, before you really press it down, just sort of measure. That looks like it's a little bit over 1.5 inches from the top, which means this is probably a little under 1.5 inches. It is. So if you really want that to be the same, both top and bottom, as long as you haven't pressed it down, you should be able to pick this up fairly easily. Just go gently and reposition it. All right, so that's pretty good. All right. All right, so coming back to our left page here, we're going to adhere the following pieces in the upper left corner, and that's where all these little pieces come in. You're going to adhere the 1 by 3 inch polka dot piece, the 3/4 by 3 inch Misty Moonlight piece, the 1/2 by 3 inch light fresh freesia. So there's the dark, here's the light, and the 1/2 by 3 inch soft seafoam cardstock. And so that's not the cardstock, but I think that's really what we're supposed to use. They didn't say light or dark, so you can take your pick. Light. Oh, remember, if they didn't tell us, we're supposed to use the dark. So there we go. And they were supposed to use the light here. So yes, that's the light side right there. Now, it says in the upper left-hand corner, but if I refer to this piece right here, it says that the left edge of that polka dot piece needs to be 1 1/4 from the left edge of the blue of the Misty Moonlight. So 1 1/4. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put that down there. And this gets stuck up just to the top of this page, so I can kind of sneak this under here. So 1 1/4, and that's going to be where it goes. If you want to make pencil lines, you can make pencil lines. I'm good with this. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to put it at the top first. Ooh, this is too wide a piece of tear and tape. All right. Now, once I have this first one placed, the rest of them are going to go very easily. So let's see. Here's 1 1/4. We just want to make sure it's straight. So 1 1/4 pieced right to the top is the bottom 1 1/4. I want to come over just a little bit. And then I anchor that one down, and then I can go ahead and put the other one down, put the other edge down. One thing I love about tear and tape is you don't need scissors, so you don't need another tool at hand in order to get this to work. Now I can just put that down. And now I can put the other pieces down right next to it. So we're going to, and it says the light misty moonlight, so I want the light side, which means I'm going to put the adhesive on the dark side. Now, you can use tear and tape, of course. I think seal is probably going to be faster if you like it. The glue would probably also work pretty well. If you are heavy-handed with glue, though, be aware that you will probably get glue lines or squiggles if you use squiggles. Did I put that on the light? There's the dark. Oh, I put it on the wrong side. Darn it. But this is going to come up just fine. Here we go. I just put that right up right next to it. And then, oops, that probably could go a little bit higher. So it has just a little bit of time before that really sets in really strongly there. So you can pry it up. And I just put it back in the same place. Let's go a little bit higher. Okay, there we go. And then we want to put in the fresh freesia piece, and we want the light side of that. So this is the light side, which means we want the adhesive on the other side. And this is pretty thin. So I'm going to have my adhesive strips from the tear and tape going this way this time. And you may decide that you want to do all the adhesives first and then stick them down. Doesn't matter. You're going to get to the same place. And then we've got this piece, and it doesn't really matter which side we put it on. It did say, unless otherwise indicated, do dark. So let's go ahead and just do dark, which means we put the adhesive on the light side. Okay, and so there we have that section right there. Now it says, angle the ends of the following pieces and adhere to the bottom right corner. So down here, we're going to angle the ends of the 1 by 6.5 piece of black and white polka dot. So that's 1 by 6.5. and 3/4 by 6. I can tell this is 6 of the light Misty Moonlight. And then 1/2 by 6.5. 1/2 by 6.5 of the Fresh Freesia, light Fresh Freesia. So that's one. So that's 6.5. You can tell it's just a little bit longer. That's a little bit longer. And then we have our 1/2 by 6-inch piece of soft seafoam. I'm going to go ahead and do the dark side there. Now, it does say angle cut. So they angle the ends of the following pieces. And if I look at my sample, I can see that I'm cutting this one up, and you don't have, it just says angle cut. It doesn't say what the angle is. So just cut an angle off. You can see I want it going up and to the right, like in my sample. I mean, obviously you can do whatever you want to, but I'm kind of I like how they did it kind of girl. So I'm gonna do it like they did it. So we have that, and then we're going to angle cut this one. So it goes up and to the right. And then we're going to do this one so it goes down to the right or up to the left. Here we go. There we have those pieces. And it says that for these pieces, and you know what? Let's go ahead and put all the adhesive on first, and then we can worry about the rest. So let's put my adhesive. And I think it won't be long before I switch to seal. I like seal. And this is the piece we're going to stick on first because we're told it needs to go 1 1/4 inches in from the edge. So the other one started 1 1/4 inches in. These ones are going to as well, just from the opposite side. So let's put this down here, 1 1/4, and we're going to stick it all the way down to the bottom of the white. There's 1 1/4. I'm just going to come up here and make sure I have one. Do I have 1 1/4 over here? I don't have 1 1/4. Let's try that again. I was measuring from the wrong side. I want my left hand side here to be 1 1/4. There we go. Let's stick that down a little bit. And then I'm just going to measure up here to make sure it's going up straight. There it is. And now I can put these down. Just butt them up against the first guy. I want my angles at the top. There we go. Next it says, adhere the prepared photos using Stampin' Dimensionals. All right, so we need to get out some of our dimensionals. I just happened to get a few new packages. So if you do purchase this and therefore get access to the videos, you'll see that one of the Stampin' Up! Employees, Karen Pedersen, who is kind of the product spotlight person for scrapbooking, she loves her dimensionals. She gives a very valid reason why she uses so many, and that's because if you just put dimensionals in the corners, then the center of the photo can sag a bit. And so you kind of want to put more, not less. I mean, she goes really overboard, in my opinion, but to each their own. It's just dimensionals. So remember we had this piece right here. I'm going to put some dimensionals on. I'm going to put them in the corners. I'm probably going to put 3 on these short sides, 4 on the long sides, and maybe even cheating them in a little bit. And then a couple more in the middle. And that should give a nice balanced piece to it. Again, take these off. After I get a 4 or 5, maybe 6 on here with my take your pick tool, and I try to take them off. I can't take them all off at once. So there we go. We're going to put this here, and it says that we want to put this, and it doesn't actually say for this particular photo, but it looks like it is 1/4 of an inch in on this side. And it looks like it's at the bottom of these. I'm going to go right about like that, right there. And then this smaller blue one, it's telling me is 2 1/4 inches in on that side. So 2 1/4 inches from the very edge. Now this person that did this, she went to the ice castles or wherever, I think in Utah, but ice castles are all over. We actually have some not too far from us, maybe, 2 hours maybe. And they were lots of fun. We went during COVID for the first and only time so far. Maybe we'll go back. It's been a long time. That was lots of fun. It was nice to be outside. All right. Sometimes I take them off by hand. Sometimes I don't. All right. And this one's going to come in 2 1/4 inches from the side. So if I measure this a little bit here, 2 1/4 inches is about there, and it's just going to be a little bit above this border here. So 2 1/4 inches is about right there. And let's put that just a little bit closer to the bottom here. There we go. Now remember, these white photo mats, they're not straight, and that's because I'm just holding a place for them for the real photos. And then we've got one more on this left-hand side. We've got this green matted photo, and that's going to be 2 1/4 inches up from the bottom of this edge here. So let's put on some more dimensionals. I have not decided if the next one I'm going to do is February or not. February is, and they will admit this, the hardest of all of the layouts because of the geometric piece to it. So I may decide to do that in 2 weeks worth. I don't know. I don't want to get these sessions to be too long. I'm already afraid I'm going a little long, but I can edit out some. Okay. So here I have this right here, and I want to go up 2 1/4 inches. And it looks like it's centered over all these stripes. So 2 1/4, and I want to put it centered. So let's see, 2 1/4 is there. So it's about like that, I think. Yep. And that's where that photo goes. Now it says stamp the dotted arrow in tuxedo black, and you can see that dotted arrow right there. That's going to go over here, which is great because I have a little boo-boo right here, I have a little piece of Misty Moonlight that I accidentally caught an edge on. So that's perfect. So here's my dotted arrow. And let's go ahead and turn this. Oops, which way does it go? This way. And I want to make sure that's inked up well. It is. And we are going to put it right here. Let's see if we can cover up. Not perfectly, but you can't really notice it now because there's stuff down here. It's not just plain white cardstock down there. So that's great. And then now we want to stamp the Paint Splatter, Burst, and Burst Cluster in soft seafoam. So there's Paint Splatter here, Paint Splatter here, Paint Splatter here, and a burst over here. So we're just filling up some of the page with a little bit of color. All right, so I've mounted my burst cluster, and I'm going to stamp that in a few different places here. Maybe I should get my January out so I can have an idea of where things go. So here is my J, and then I need my Annuary. So this is a very nice thick layer here, by the way. Let's pull this out here. And this is going to go right up here. Almost lost them. Okay, and this one, remember, I'm not sure what exactly I'm going to do with this one, but it will go up here somewhere like this, maybe up a little bit, up like that, so that the green is kind of in beneath it. So we're going to put our January is going to be in here, but before we put that on there, we need to go ahead and stamp some of those little bursty images. So here's my burst cluster. I'm going to put a couple of those over in here. And you can just do as much or as little as you want. We'll put some down here a bit as well. You can alter the position. I'm going to go ahead and put the cluster, the burst image just itself, which is slightly larger. I'm going to put that over here. And then I'm going to take that paint splatter one. And the paint splatter is the largest of the three images. It's not that one. Let's see. Paint splatter. Here it is. Already got it out. And we're going to take that and we're going to just put it in a couple different places. The paint splatter is really lots of fun, excuse me, to put on the cards as well. You can stamp as much or as little as you want. You can do second generation stamping. Just looks a little bit, like you've grunged it up a little bit. It just adds a little bit of interest to the page. And if that's not your kind of thing, don't do it. So here we have what's going to go in here. We're going to put our little piece right here. That's going to stick up. That's going to be on dimensionals. And I think I don't think I'm going to write on this. I think I'm going to, I don't think I'm going to stamp on it. I think I'm going to write on it. But just in case I decide that I want to write on it or stamp on it, and especially stamp on it, I'm going to put this on with some mini glue dots. I'm going to take some of the stickiness away, and that's just so I can peel this up, because otherwise it's going to be permanent. It'll be much more permanent with dimensionals. And then because it'll have dimension on it, I won't be able to get it off the page without maybe ripping some stuff, and I certainly can't stamp on it if it's got all that stuff on it. So let's go ahead and put a little bit of adhesive. Oh, I had a little glue incident. Let's take off some of this glue. You know what? We can probably apply it with our finger to some places where it needs to go. We don't need to waste it. All right, clean that off my finger. All right, and we're just gonna apply this right up here, nice and straight. That looks pretty good, right? Like that. We'll apply the J. See if I can go a little bit easier here. There we go. And we'll just put that J right down there like that. January. Now the only thing left to finish this page is the year. And so I'm going to put 2026 right underneath there. And those are stamps. I'm going to take the numbers out of here. Let's see, it might take me a second to find the numbers. The numbers are on one sheet by themselves. So I want 2025. I need to clean some of my other stamps. Might as well put them away, I suppose. Clean those. Clean both of my bursts, the burst cluster and the burst. All right, I'm going to do what they suggested because I just want to move on for right now. These are all little stamps. I'm going to put them right on one other block. Here we go. And then I need my 2 that I just got out. Don't want to lose it. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start towards the center. So I'm going to do the 2026, but I'm going to do the middle 2. And let's do this right here. There's the 2. And let me get out one more. Let me put out the 0. And 2000. I need another 2. 2000. And we'll clean these guys so that we can free up a block. And get out the 6 here. $2026. It's a little crooked. It's okay. It's my page. I'm all right with it because we are done with this particular page. All right, for our remaining page, the right side page, we already adhered this piece to it, but now we also have to adhere these 2 11.5-inch strips, and these are 11.5 by 1 1/4. And we are going to adhere I think the dark side, because it doesn't say which side. So by default, that means we're supposed to do the dark side, according to the directions I initially read. So that's just a top and a bottom. So it looks like, or it's going to look like when we're finished, that this was matted on top of a whole piece of soft seafoam, but not true. It was its own. My tear and tape out, and there's the light side. I want this light side up because I'm adhering the dark side. So I just love how they've tied these two pages together. They're using the same base color. They're using a big chunk of white willow with a design that is consistent on both sides. We're using, obviously, the same colors, but they're not exactly the same because this piece is different. It's a smaller size, and the other side doesn't have these soft seafoam edges, but it looks cohesive because everything's the same color. We've got that consistent design going along the border. These are all things that I'm going to try to keep in my head when I get to the point where I feel comfortable designing my own pages. That the pages don't have to mirror each other exactly to look good. All right, so we've got those two pieces on, and now we're going to adhere the following pieces to the right side. We want the 1/2 by 9-inch piece of light misty moonlight. So this is the light side. And we want a 1/2 by 9-inch black and white dash. That's this. We want a 1/2 by 9-inch piece of light fresh freesia. That's this piece right here. And we want a 1/2 by 9-inch piece of soft seafoam. And again, it doesn't mention, so we're gonna go with the dark side. All right, so that means I need to take a look to see exactly what it's supposed to look like, where I'm adhering it. So it's saying you're going to adhere this piece right here 2 inches in from the edge. So again, let's go ahead and put our adhesive on here. And if you notice, it's only the top and bottom that are showing. So the other part is going to be covered up. We probably don't need adhesive all the way down. The middle will be covered up with something, with a photo. And so that would naturally keep that middle down anyway. But even just having the ends done, you'll be fine. Now, if you recall, our white willow piece here is 9 inches already. So it's just going to go edge to edge. So I would love to know, do you use your fingers to take off the backings of dimensionals and tear and tape, or do you use a take your pick tool, or does it depend? Like for me, it depends. If I've just got a couple of dimensionals, which is usually the case for a card, or maybe just, one line of tear and tape, then I probably will just use my fingers. I mean, I don't have fingernails. So, but those of you who have acrylics and that, they have a thickness to them, and that also makes picking things up difficult. So I do like the take your pick tool, especially if I'm doing a lot. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in 2 inches from the edge. So I'm going to measure 2 inches. And I want the edge, oops, I didn't need to put it down yet. Hopefully that's going to be hidden. 2 inches right here at the edge. And that's gonna go, we're gonna call that, is that close? No, it's not. It's gonna go a little bit more. 2 inches. Now you can just call it good if you want to. I'm gonna put that straight down. Now it should go right to the bottom. So 2 inches. And make sure that it's 2 inches all the way down, because once I get the first one straight, then the rest of them will follow along nicely. So this one is a little bit, needs to be moved a little bit. Let's go 2 inches. Here's when glue is nicer. Two inches at the bottom. 2 inches at the top. There we go. And then I'm going to just lay these pieces right next to the ones that came before it. There we go. And I would never think to bring in this kind of pattern either. But I'm not an artist. I haven't studied that stuff, and so I trust the professionals and the people that have been doing this a whole lot longer than I have. There we go. So we have that done. Adhered the prepared 4x6-inch photo using Stampin' Dimensionals. So remember, we had one more photo that was 4x6, and we have to adhere that using dimensionals. So we're going to bring out our dimensional package again. And I'm going to tell you that this is probably half what Karen Pedersen used. Maybe less than half. She went crazy with her dimensionals. And this edge has to be 1 inch, and it's kind of centered top to bottom. Let's keep my white there. That's about centered top to bottom, and I want it 1 inch in from the very edge. So about like that. Probably bring it down just a little bit, just a hair. And bring it over just a hair there. That looks pretty good. If I check it, that's about 1 inch. That's about 1 inch. That's good. Okay, so there's our photo. And then we are going to stamp the paint splatter, burst, and burst cluster again in the soft seafoam ink. Again, I'm going to put this anywhere I want, but I know that I've got this little pocket that's going to go right here. I've got the tags that are kind of sticking up over here. So we're just going to put them in a few random spots here. So maybe this one's kind of coming up here. Maybe I'm going to put another one down here. Let me use the little cluster. We'll put some over here. We can always do a little bit more if we need to. Maybe we put some over here. Where am I going to put my paint splatter? Let's put my paint splatter. Well, let's put it up there now because I caught an edge. I'm not very careful sometimes when I'm inking, and I tend to wobble my block. So you just want to gently tap it down there. And let's go ahead and put some splatters in. Maybe we can use some second generation stamping. And again, you can put some splatters out here, maybe some up in here. You can put them wherever you want to. You can bring some down here. All right, just kind of grunges it up a little bit. Maybe your style may not be. That's okay. Now it says I'm going to create a pocket. Oh, wait. Did I? No, I got all the three things, right? Now it says I'm going to create a pocket with the 5 1/4 by 3 1/2 piece of fresh freesia DSP by placing foam adhesive strips along 2 sides and the bottom, then adhering to the page. So I'm going to use this full on just the way it is. And this is going to come in here. So if I bring in the photo here, this is what we've got going on now. It looks like something's happening along the top, which it is. But the first thing we're going to do is adhere this down. And it says we want to adhere it down by using foam adhesive strips along the 2 sides and the bottom. Now, you certainly can use dimensionals to do that, but the foam adhesive strips are a great option. And I've got them right here. They come in a 2-pack of these strips, and you'll get a lot of stuff out of here. So if I take one strip off of here, I'm going to put that along the sides and the bottom. So 2 sides. And along the bottom. Oop, don't want to take the adhesive off yet. And there's not going to be any real gaps in here for the photos to fall off. Oops. I find sometimes when I'm working white on white, I don't really pay attention to where I'm going. So I do need to do that. I don't want to go off the page. Here we go. And then I think I'm going to do this. And I need just a little bit more, but I happen to have just a little bit more hanging right out over here. So let's take off the backings of this. This is really easy to take the backing off because you can get a little bit underneath it because it's got a thickness to it. And we're going to adhere this about like this, a little bit closer to the photo. Here we go, just like that, I think. Here we go. And so we have this little pocket that's in there. That's pretty cool. Now it says adhere the scalloped pre-cut pieces and then the prepared pre-cut oval and scalloped half circle. So on this sheet, here are the 2 pieces that we need. These are both gradations of the fresh freesia color. Like my fancy word, gradation. Pretty sure it's right. Hope it is. If it's not, too bad. And what we're going to do is we're going to adhere them just like this. So there's one, and we'll put this one up underneath it. So let's see if we, you can see that you have a little bit of a space in between here. So where am I going to put each one of these? Doesn't really matter, but it looks like you have, and see on the back of these, it tells you that it's project 1. That's very helpful, don't you think? What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this top scallop, which is a little bit more narrow, I'm going to put some tear and tape right along the top edge there. And I'm not going to adhere the rest of it because I'm going to just tuck that other piece right underneath. So this is going to go right to the top. Probably I would have liked myself to decorate the pocket first and then adhere everything together. Oops, it's a little bit off to the side. Let's get that centered a little bit more. Now it's off to the other side. There we go. Line up our fingers. There we go. So now it's crooked again. My goodness. Again, if you're careful, you can get it up because it hasn't quite set up just yet. In case you're wondering, I'm doing this pretty late at night, in case it's not obvious. All right, now I'm going to put a strip across here as well. And that's how I'm going to adhere this. I'm going to stick it underneath. And there's a straight side there. And make sure it's all going underneath here. That looks pretty good. We're going to hold that down just like that. There we go. Now that these are in place, we're going to add that polka dot tag that we had. So remember this tag right here? We've got that photo placeholder on it, but we're going to adhere this to the page. I'm just going to put it on a slight angle because that's what it looks like in the picture that I have here. So it says we're going to adhere it, and it doesn't say with anything, so that means we're going to adhere it with just basic adhesive. Put a little strip at the top, a little strip at the bottom, that'll be enough. So you're going to embellish that with the dots. So let's see. It looks like I'm probably going to go like that. That looks pretty good, I think. All right. And I'm maybe, yeah, that's good. And I'm going to embellish that with one of these black dots over here. So let's get these out. And I think I'm going to use this size because that's the closest to this hole. There we go. I'll put that there. And then we're going to insert the page into the memory protector and cut a slit for the pocket. All right, so let's get our memory protector out. Here's my memory protector. If I put this in, these are top loading. I'm going to put this in right like this. Okay. And that fits very nicely in there. What we want to do is we want to cut a slit that is going to go right along here. Are you ready? The first thing we're going to do, make sure that this is all the way in, which it is. I'm going to take a ruler and I'm going to draw a line where the top of that purple piece is, the fresh freesia piece is. Just draw a line on my page protector here. Can I see it? No, cannot. So I need to get a better pencil, I think. Hold on. Put this back in. Let's try it again. Okay. All right, now let's take this out. And I'm going to put a mat underneath it. All right, I'm going to bring in a self-healing mat. This is my mat. I can see where this line is, probably as much from the pressure as anything else. I'm going to put this mat, you can also use, what's perfect is the back cardboard piece that comes in the paper pumpkin kits or the Kits Collection kits. So we're going to put this inside so that we don't cut through both layers. I'm going to take your pick tool, and I'm going to replace my putty end with the craft blade end. I'm going to bring back my ruler, or you can use this, or you can use the tip of your paper snips, and you can cut across the straight line. So if you don't have a craft blade, you can just use your ruler, line it up. So here's your craft blade. But if you don't have that, let's see where it ends here. I gotta go a little bit further. Okay. If you don't have this, you can take your paper snips and cut it that way. Either way. I have the craft blade, so I decided I'd use it. All right. You can wipe off any pencil residue. Probably comes off pretty easily with your fingers because it's plastic. Now if I put this back in, so now we can take our tags, our remaining tags. Remember, one of these has a photo on it. And of course, this could be a 3x4. It doesn't have to be a 3x3. But I think if you leave a little space underneath it, that's a place where you can do some journaling also. But now, look, you can just stick these in, and the tags are sticking out a little bit, but they're in the pocket, secure. And so there we have that page. Oops, I almost forgot one thing. I forgot this little piece right here. And this goes on with dimensionals. So I'll have to take that piece out of my page protector. You know what? I can probably sneak it right in through here, through this top. Yeah, I think I can. Let's see if I can get that in there straight. Yeah, there we go. And that's our 2-page spread. Page number 1 and page number 2. Can't wait to see what pictures I put on those. Thank you for joining me. I hope you've learned some tips and tricks along the way, especially those of you who were not part of the month-by-month retreat that Stampin' Up! Hosted. Now this kit is still available, so if you would like to place an order for that, I will link it in the description of this video. But again, even if you don't get this specific kit, you can learn layouts and tips and tricks just by watching these videos, and so I hope you will do that. Thanks again for joining me. I hope you have a great week ahead of you.